Hey, what's going on, guys? Ryan here from Command Point. What you're about to watch is our exclusive Patreon series, Inside Shane's Brain. This is a preview episode for you guys. So if you're interested in this sort of content, you like this sort of video, you can head over to our Patreon. And for the knob tier, you get access to exclusive Kill Team content like this. Link in the description.
Patreon followers, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here supporting us, and it is with so much excitement that I share with you the first ever episode of Inside Shane's Brain. In this series, you are going to listen to the inner workings of my list building process and get an in-depth look at how I create the crazy list you might be used to seeing or hearing about. So buckle up, grab yourself a coffee, pick up Battlescribe, and join me as we talk about a new way to dominate the kill zone. On the first episode of this series, I'm going to talk about a crazy powerful build I threw together for the Transatlantic Open. Unfortunately, I built this team after I'd already submitted my roster for that tournament, and therefore didn't end up running it. Despite this, I am confident that this is one of the strongest builds in the format, and on top of this, it was something that nobody was really running. What I'm talking about is a very specific build for the machine lovers of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and it's something that in many ways mirrors the dominant Druhkari builds we've seen running rampant this tournament. So, of course, the Metallica AdMech is something that looks strong here in the format, with a very open board. This means that the classic plasma caliber builds that we've seen in the past could potentially thrive in this format. Assuming you build a roster with this as the first piece, this leaves us with another issue to solve: the Toughness 3 teams that have been so dominant this tournament. Plasma caliber spam is going to absolutely crush the Marines and Necrons of the world, but isn't going to be that efficient against lists like Druhkari or the Astra Militarum. So how do we build a list at 100 points that can handle T3? I think I found an answer to this question. First, we're not going to split the subfactions on the roster, meaning that our anti-T3 list is going to be Metallica as well. The leader is going to be the SKITARII Ranger Alpha with a galvanic rifle. Having 2 shots at strength 4 from 15 inches away is pretty effective against a lot of T3, and it allows your leader to provide a threat from a relatively long-range position. Moving on to the specialists, we're going to be rocking a combat specialist SICARIAN infiltrator with a stub carbine and power sword. I'll explain the theory behind the infiltrators later, so let's just move on to the next specialist for now. A SKITARII Ranger gunner with an arc rifle, who I've made a sniper specialist. The arc rifle is totally free for the SKITARII gunners of the AdMech, and it's a weapon that offers strength 6, meaning we're wounding T3 on 2s, and AP -1, which is a really nice sweet spot that oftentimes is going to be more than enough to give weaker models trouble. On top of this, he can benefit from the mobility of Metallica while still offering a solid range threat. Our next specialist is going to be a ZEALOT SKITARII Vanguard Alpha with an arc maul and arc pistol. This is a nice dual threat model that will be wounding T3 on 2s, regardless of whether he's in melee or just firing his arc pistol. You need to be careful with this guy though, as he's going to be your easiest threat model for your opponent to kill. That being said, this list is going to offer enough threats that your opponent will always have to carefully consider which of your models to specifically target. Moving past the specialists now, we're going to return to that infiltrator theory that I mentioned earlier. On the extremely open board that we've played on for TAO and Freak Wars, I've said time and time again that reserves are king. This is one of the things that has made Druhkari so strong, with the ability to deep strike 3 mandrakes anywhere on the board 5 inches away from enemy models and immediately put out 6 strength 4 AP1 shots onto whatever you want. The Adeptus Mechanicus have their own deep strike tactic with the SICARIAN infiltrators that I find to be insanely strong here in this format. So, because of this, I have a non-specialist infiltrator Princeps and another non-specialist SICARIAN infiltrator, both of which also have stub carbines and power swords. This means, joined to the combat specialist SICARIAN infiltrator I mentioned earlier, you could put all 3 of these guys in reserve and drop them anywhere on the board, posting 9 strength 4 shots at anybody they want at 18-inch range. Considering they're also strength 4 models with a power sword, 2 wounds and 8-inch movement, these models are just as, if not more flexible than the Druhkari mandrakes we've seen so much of in TAO, while being even more durable as well. On top of the 6 models that I've already talked about, I throw 2 additional CORPUSCARII ELECTRO-PRIESTS into the list. These models serve a few purposes. For starters, they have a high volume of strength 5 attacks that are going to give T3 a ton of trouble, and they solve a major issue that the Adeptus Mechanicus has: leadership. Their LD8 makes it significantly harder to break, and with the Metallica subfaction, the 12-inch threat range of their electrostatic gauntlets extends dramatically, allowing you to move longer distances and still put out 3 shots, ignoring the penalty to advance, ignoring obscurity because of their vision of the motive force ability, with exploding 6s. This list clocks out at 8 bodies at 99 points, despite the abundance of elite units. And I've said before that I think 8 bodies in this format is a really nice sweet spot. Any less than that, and I think you start to run into major problems. It doesn't have quite as much AP as the standard Druhkari list, but remember, this list is just built to defeat T3. where AP isn't nearly as important of a stat. In addition to this, the rest of your roster would certainly include a wealth of plasma calivers, so you'll have the option for devastating armor piercing in every muster. I truly believe that if somebody ran this type of build in the Transatlantic Open, we could have seen a top 4 performance from AdMech. Combining heavily flexible models with the Canticles and the Omnissiah would make for a truly dominant team that could change its game plan on the fly within a single list. So, Patreon supporters, let me know what you think of this build, try it out, give it a test run or two, and let me know in the Patreon comments if you've had any success with it. Everyone take it easy. I'll see you in the next episode of Inside Shane's Brain.